Welcome to the Diversity Report podcasts, where we interview the diverse movers and shakers and innovative change makers of the future. I'm Deborah Levine, your host, Editor-in-Chief of the American Diversity Report. And our topic today is Women in STEM. I have with me two women, mother and daughter, who have made incredible journeys into the STEM world and will share with you their words of wisdom. First, we have Sheila Boynton, who is a successful serial entrepreneur leading the creation of several products. Her company, Thinking Media, is the creator of ACT's KeyTrain system for WorkKeys and career readiness, acquired by ACT in 2011. PictureRx for health literacy, and CharacterED.net for K-12 character education. She is well known for her passion, strong management, and leadership skills, and has been credited for gaining high adoption of the Thinking Media tools, including over 30 statewide contracts. Sheila has won numerous awards for her entrepreneurship and leadership as a professional engineer. Priya Boyington is an MBA graduate from the Wharton School, where she received the Forte Fellowship and chaired the Wharton Entrepreneurship Conference. She is an e-commerce marketer, passionate about the intersection of retail and technology. She currently resides in San Francisco and is a marketing manager for Stitch Fix's newly launched men's business, and has previous experience at GoldieBlox, Bain & Company, and Fortune 500 companies. Thank you for joining us, both of you, Sheila and Priya.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure. I know that our audience is interested in hearing about women in STEM and your personal journeys. Can you share with us, starting with Sheila, how you came to be a woman in STEM and do all of this? What inspired you?
Well, my story is much like many women in STEM. I was actually motivated to go into STEM by my father. He was an engineer and did a great job of exposing me to engineering and math and science at a very early age. And because of that, I really had a passion for trying to be good in math and science, and I was. And when I went to college, to be honest, I really looked at the careers that were out there and realized that being an engineer would lead to a great financial position for me. If I ever wanted to work part-time, I could almost do that and still make a lot of money compared to if I was doing full-time work in many other fields. And so that was very important to me. And so being good in math and science, I pursued chemical engineering as an undergrad at University of Florida and earned my degree there. And then actually married my college sweetheart, and we moved to University of California at Berkeley, where I worked for a few years as an environmental engineer prior to getting my master's in environmental engineering from Berkeley. But the main thing for me is that I have understood, and because now you hear my bio, it really isn't focused specifically on chemical engineering. And in fact, I'll talk a little bit about Learning Blade too, which is what I'm currently working on, a STEM career awareness system for middle school students. But, the fact that engineering gave me the ability to problem solve and to troubleshoot. And that's kind of my mantra, in helping to encourage people to go into the STEM careers, is understanding the value of the teachings that you get when you are in an engineering track. And it allows you to really see ways that you can solve problems. Because really, when kids are in school, the main thing is we want kids to learn traits and things that will make them trainable in their communities and in their jobs. They're not going to learn all their job-specific skills when they're in school. And so I think it's really important that we take away, the notion that you're going to learn everything you need to in school, because you're not. You're going to learn how to think, and you're going to learn how to, approach problems and things like that. And so that's really what I feel is important, and we're missing a lot of times in school. And so my own personal journey, was getting those degrees, being able to work as an engineer. And quite frankly, when Priya was a little kid, I worked as an engineer part-time for an engineering company and was able to do very well and still be an at-home mother, and raise her and her sister Nisha, and still make some money and contribute to the household in that way, but also being able to be a full-time parent at home a lot of times too when they needed me. And subsequently, when our youngest child was going to school, my husband and I decided that we really wanted to do something on our own. And I think entrepreneurship was always in my blood. And besides, in combining the engineering sort of thought with an entrepreneurship drive, led to us creating the Thinking Media Company, which, as you mentioned, has had 4 products. 2 of those have been acquired, and we're currently on our 4th one called Learning Blade, that I'm sure I'll talk about a little bit later in terms of getting more kids interested in STEM careers, and my national work now with the Million Women Mentors movement, really focused on getting more girls and women in STEM. So that's kind of what brought me to where I am today.
Thank you. That's quite a journey that you've made. And Priya, you've been part of that from the day you were born. And
Yes.
how has it shaped you and your journey through STEM?
Absolutely. As you can tell, growing up with Sheila as my mom has been incredible. And since I was a young kid, really what I saw was them building it, her and my dad building a business. And I knew that that's ultimately what I wanted to do as well in life. And so, from a young age, I wasn't as focused on engineering, but I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And when it came to time to go to college and think about what I wanted to do, I was really good at math and science. And my parents encouraged me, as she said, to think about, what are the opportunities you want in the world? And then how can you major in something that helps you, approach problems well and think about things in a logical way. And so for me, I wanted to study business, but I wanted something more technical that I could fall back on with a solid skill. And so I chose to study industrial engineering, which is what led me to Georgia Tech. And so there I was a President's Scholar, and they have an amazing industrial engineering program. And I really feel like that was a foundation that I can fall back on in so many ways. It opened so many doors for me. After college, I joined Bain and Company, which is a strategy management consulting firm, where I got to consult for Fortune 500 companies, as you mentioned, worked with private equity companies, and really got to understand a wide variety of the business world very quickly out of college. And I would have never had that opportunity had I not studied engineering. And so I think that was a great basis. While I was there, I actually took a leave of absence and worked at a company called GoldieBlox, where we made toys for little girls to inspire them to be engineers. And this was the absolute perfect opportunity for me because it combined my interest of working at a small company, kind of that entrepreneurial route, with something that our whole family, frankly, is passionate about, which is getting young girls excited about engineering and, frankly, letting them believe that this is something that is open to them and they should want to do. So that was an amazing experience. And since then, I, as you mentioned, went back to business school at Wharton, enjoyed those 2 years, really connected with a ton of people across the country and across the world. And now I'm back in San Francisco working in the technology startup space with retail startups in particular.
You've been busy.
Yes.
And could I tell a funny story about Priya when she was younger? One of the reasons, and again, she talked about when she was trying to figure out what to major in college, et cetera. And she may not remember this, but one time she reviewed the top 500 CEOs of the country. And she recognized that a large percentage, I think it was close to 50%, had degrees in industrial engineering. And that was one of the reasons that she also selected industrial engineering.
Well, it was a good choice, apparently. You've done very well.
Yes.
I do remember that.
Yes.
The engineering field is one with many different facets, and between the two of you, you represent quite a number of them. Can you explain to our audience the variety of STEM categories that young people can consider, especially young women can consider for their future?
Sure. So I'll start, and then Priya can follow on. I mean, I think, one of the things about engineering is, as you mentioned, Deborah, there are so many different facets for it. And I challenge people to just sit in their room right now where they're sitting and look around the room and see how many things, and pretty much anything you will see, involves some kind of engineering technique to build, whether it be in your kitchen, in your refrigeration or your oven, or whether it be in your bedrooms with your furniture and the design of that and design thinking. So, there's manufacturing, there's IT, even healthcare, is STEM. I mean, when we're talking engineering, we really want to broaden it, talk more about science, technology, engineering, and math, because that is where the high demand careers, are today. About 85% of all jobs require some kind of STEM skills. And quite frankly, probably all jobs do when you really boil them down. But really, so it's important that people see that connection. And I think that is one of those things. So, whether you like outdoor work, or you like to be in a team, or whether you like to sit in front of a computer, there is something in the STEM space that can meet that need. And, there are jobs that do have a lot of people interaction too. And a lot of times we thought of manufacturing back in, the days of our parents, where it was a dirty profession and people used to get dirty when they were in a manufacturing plant. Now they're very high tech, and it's a lot of technology, and it's very little, that is where you're really getting grimy and dirty. And we've got to flip and change the perception of that. And that's something important that I think as a nation we have to work on.
Thank you. Absolutely. Priya, what do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely add on for future generations, kind of those generations that are picking their careers now. They spend so much time on their phone and on their computers. And if you step back and look at it, every single, that T in STEM technology is what our entire world is built around now. And so I'd encourage them to think about, where do you find the most value in your day? Where do you enjoy yourself the most? And a lot of those things are built by engineers or by people in STEM professions. And so I think when you approach it in the way of, what do you enjoy the most and how can you build a career on what you love to do? That's how you really get young girls and young boys excited about engineering and STEM in general, is by kind of approaching it in that way. And so I think that when you think about that, it's not only the physical things in the world, but everything you do is built by STEM professionals.
Yes. Now, there's certainly more of an emphasis on STEM education for women than when I was growing up, and it's wonderful to see. But why are we not seeing more women in the professions and technology? It seems as if they are not being hired or present for some reason. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. So women are 50% of the workforce, yet we're 24% of the STEM workforce. An alarming data fact is the fact that in the first 10 years of women that go into STEM, 50% of them will drop out of those STEM careers. Also, from 2004 to 2014, we actually had a decline in the number of women earning computer science degrees and engineering degrees. So as you mentioned, Deborah, we've been sort of talking about it a lot more, but not really making gains in getting more girls to major in these fields. One of the issues I personally believe, and again, I think there's some data that shows this. Well, I know there's data. AUW and others have done research on the fact that, women and girls particularly, and quite frankly, millennials now want career paths where they're helping people and making an impact in society. And, I think things have changed, from the days of our parents where, just wanted a job, a good job. It didn't matter. It wasn't as important that you were always happy in your job. You heard Priya, talking about passion and all. And I think, we as parents have raised this next generation recognizing that and recognizing that your job is something you're going to be doing a lot more. I think in America today, we work a lot more than 40 hours a week, as our, parents used to punch the clock and, come home. And there was a very strict division between the workday and the evening. And now they pretty much bleed with technology and all you're accessible at all times. And so you do have to be much more passionate about what you're doing. And so, the impacting nature of your career has to be visible to you. And so that is where I think we're not doing as good of a job of introducing to our students while they're in school and they're making these career decisions, what these careers actually do to impact society and help people. And so that is really one of the focuses of our company now, Thinking Media, with our new tool called Learning Blade, which is designed at the middle school level to encourage kids to consider these STEM careers, because we recognize that the number one reason, and there was research that showed this as well, that kids weren't majoring in the STEM careers was not that they didn't like math or science or they weren't good at it, et cetera. It was the lack of the knowledge of the careers. They didn't understand. And you can think about it, if you yourself don't have anyone in your life that was an engineer. I mean, Priya's in a different situation. Both her parents were engineers, her grandfather was an engineer, et cetera. Similar for me, we had that exposure. But for the students that don't have, and particularly for our underrepresented minorities and others, they don't have as much exposure to that. That is a critical component that we've got to do a better job of integrating it into our schools. And so with our system, we already are showing data. It's only been in existence for 3 years. We have statewide work in Tennessee and in Arkansas, DC public schools, used in about 27 states in just 3 years. And we're already seeing that we're doubling the number of kids who understand and want to be an engineer or scientist after using our system, increasing even the relevance of what they learn in school. So 69% increase in students seeing what they're learning in school will be useful later in their life. So that's a big plus that we definitely want to make sure that kids are doing. So, it's not the be all end all, but this is an example of some of the things. And there are other efforts out there definitely that are trying to move the needle on that. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, but the Million Mentors work as well too. But Priya, did you want to add to that?
Yes, Priya.
Yeah,
You are definitely in the generation where you're making your way in these careers. You saw women, I hope, in your college work and now in the entrepreneur world. What are they thinking, and are they happy? Are they passionate?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. As my mom said, I think, part of it is, what are you getting out of this career, and are you happy, and et cetera. But a lot of it is, when you're trying to choose your career, you're looking at people, 10 years, 20 years ahead of you. And so I was lucky to have my mom and other people in my life. I went to a very good high school GPS and kind of promoted women in STEM at later points in their lives. But if someone doesn't have a mentor like that, it's very hard to see yourself in that role. And so I think something my mom and I are very involved with too, is giving back to the community and going and showing girls that you can be really passionate about your career if in a STEM career, and doing that mentorship through Million Women Mentors and other programs like that. And I think that's the biggest kind of benefit you can do for our generation in general, is kind of if you make that personal connection and you see someone in the career you want to be in, that's really what drives, I think, passion in most cases.
So if I'm a young woman who's trying to decide between, say, the humanities and the STEM for my college career, how do you inspire me to take the STEM path?
Yeah, I think for me, when I just went back to my high school and was talking to some brilliant girls and trying to kind of get them again to say, what are the things that really excite you? And then articulating how engineering and STEM careers play such an integral role. Currently I work at Stitch Fix, which is a personal styling company out here in San Francisco. And, all of our technology that we're built on is powered by people in STEM careers. And frankly, we can have all the ideas in the world, but if someone's not there to build it, and kind of communicating that to someone that you can be creative and be an engineer. It's not, just you're sitting heads down at a computer all day, and just articulating what that day looks like as a STEM professional, I think is so important to kind of showing them that creativity is not just for people in humanities, just for people in creative writing. It's for all professions, frankly.
Wonderful. I wish I'd had you when I was in my high school years. They give me a pep talk. So what do you think is going to happen over the next, say, decade as you mentor these young people and they do go into the STEM world? Will they be welcome in technological industries and various engineering companies?
Yeah, so I think, we both alluded to the whole movement that we're involved in nationally, which is called Million Women Mentors. And that was started about 3 years ago because one of the questions that came up was, we obviously needed more women and girls in STEM, that we understand that, everybody understands that. And there were programs and things going on in schools and others that, were working on that, but there was nowhere one place that we could go and understand what was the impact of this. What are we doing? How are we changing the conversation, et cetera? And so STEM Connector, which is a national sort of think tank based in DC, started a movement called Million Women Mentors. And it was designed to encourage and get more women and girls in STEM through mentorship, making sure that we were being more intentional about providing mentoring opportunities to our girls, whether it be through face-to-face mentoring, but even making sure that our companies were thinking about hiring and engaging women and girls in their internships, apprenticeships, also even in their workplace mentoring. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of women drop out from the STEM careers. And so we've been very fortunate to work all across the country with fantastic companies like Walmart and PepsiCo and BP and Tata Consultancy and all who have sponsored this movement, not only from a financial perspective, but also from an active perspective within their companies. Cisco, Johnson & Johnson, I could just go on and tell you the brands who, they had some things going on within their company around mentoring, but a lot of them didn't know what it was, how much was going on, and they didn't know how to build it. And so, with the work of the Million Women Mentors team and the STEM Connector team, we've been able to work with these companies. Additionally, they asked me to chair the national states work for them because obviously in this country, a lot of times we organize things by states, and we were very fortunate to have the Lieutenant Governor, soon to be Governor of Iowa, Kim Reynolds, step in as an honorary national chair. And she has worked with us all across the states. We have gotten 42 states now engaged with state teams that very much focus on this issue. They're volunteer teams. This is a volunteer movement, trying to build and get more girls in STEM and connect to different activities that are going on. We have great partners like Science Olympiad, First Robotics, Girls Inc., Girl Scouts, and others who have the girls that are part of their programs, but making sure that we even continue to build and add to that and get more girls involved, and making sure that we connect these companies and their people who are already in STEM. And our mentors don't have to be only women. I know we would love, to have enough women to mentor the young girls, but quite frankly, we don't. So we want our male engineers and technical people involved to mentor and work with young girls to also encourage them, besides our women certainly doing that. And to date, we have 1.8 million pledges that are under the Million Women Mentors movement of groups and entities pledging to mentor young girls and create these mentoring relationships, and 810,000 of those are already completed. So we're definitely making some headway in that. We're hoping to see some movement in the number of girls that go into engineering, go into STEM when they're going to college. And so, that is something that anybody that's listening can get involved with. If you have a STEM background and you could spend, a couple of hours a month for a year with someone we can use you and get you involved in this movement and make them different.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that you've been so successful in recruiting these mentors. I'm sure that it makes all the difference to these young women to have people be their role models and inspiration on a personal level. Priya, you mentioned that you had recently come back to Chattanooga and gone to girls' preparatory school, GPS, to talk to young women. And I'm delighted that for Chattanooga State that you do this, that you've come back, and both of you who have added so much to our city and our state, as well as across the entire country. I look forward to seeing both of you when you come back into town next. So we're coming to the end of the interview. And I want to make sure that our audience knows some of the websites that you are talking about. Would you like to repeat where they can go to see more about these projects and join you and participate?
Sure. So definitely for the Million Women Mentors, you can go to millionwomenmentors.org. and sign up. You can sign up for our newsletter and get on our newsletter and learn more about our movement, and we can certainly connect you to the work that's going on within the states if you're interested in that. You can email us at state@millionwomenmentors.org. If you want to learn more about Learning Blade and how you could also get that for your school within your community. In Tennessee, it is free to every school, and in Arkansas, it is free to every school, and hopefully a couple more states will be adding that as well. You can go to learningblade.com and learn more about the work that we're doing. And then, Priya, do you want to share about Stitch Fix?
Yeah, stitchfix.com is our website for personal styling. It's a great service that provides easy, convenient, hand-picked clothes to your door, and it's got a great algorithm data science team behind it. So it's a very interesting opportunity.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you both. You're doing such wonderful work. I know you're going to be very impactful with these young women. And I'm looking forward to maybe having you back on the podcast later this year to report on your progress. Yes?
Sounds
Yes,
great.
we would love to. And as a mother, it's a pleasure to do an interview with my daughter, Priya. So thanks, Priya.
Sure.
Thank you, Mom.
Appreciate you. It's wonderful to have you together. Thank
Well, thank you, Deborah, for all you're doing too.
My pleasure, truly, a passion. And audience, I think you'll enjoy this one very much. We will have it up online shortly for you to enjoy. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Pleasure.